So the next topic what we are going to talk about is about all the salivary gland related disorders, right? So when we talk about the salivary glands, obviously we all know that we have a few major glands and hundreds of minor glands. So we have totally 3 pairs of major glands where we talk about the parotids, the submandibular and the sublingual. Obviously the parotid comes onto the side of the cheek, the submandibular which is under the mandible, and we have the sublingual which is under the tongue, right? And the parotid duct which basically brings the parotid secretions into the oral cavity, it's called the Stinson's duct, which opens in the buccal mucosa opposite to the upper second molar. We have on either side of the tongue, just lateral to the lingual frenum, we have the submandibular duct which is bringing the secretions from the submandibular gland which is draining into the oral cavity, that's called the Wharton's duct. And around the Wharton's duct you have a few 10 to 12 openings, which is the Bartholin's duct, which is your sublingual glands opening. Of course, you have minor salivary glands in the lower labial mucosa, upper labial mucosa, you have it on the palate, you have it in the tongue. There are a lot of minor salivary glands, right? So the major glands are the parotids, the submandibular and sublingual, and hundreds in the oral cavity, including pharynx and paranasal sinuses, right? So now we know that we have our parotids. Like parotids are just in front of the ear, right? So we have parotids in front of the ear. In fact, this is a landmark which is easily sayable, right? So we talk about the parotid duct. It's quite a distance it runs, and in fact, if anybody can clench their mouth and roll their finger up and down, they will feel the duct rolling between your fingers on the tensed masseter on top, right? So this is your masseter muscle, and this is running across the masseter muscle, pierces through the buccinator and goes into the oral cavity. So that is a very easy landmark to locate it, and it opens opposite the upper second molar, right? So we have one under the mandible. Again, that traverses a long way and it comes just in the anterior lingual area on either side of the lingual frenum. That is your Wharton's duct. And this sublingual gland, which is just under the tongue, has got a lot of small openings which opens into just around the submandibular duct area itself. It starts opening up, right? So this is much more an anatomical picture. That one was a more representative picture. So you do see that you have your parotids with your the parotid duct, you have your submandibular with your submandibular duct which comes all the way forward like this, and you have your sublingual which has this multiple openings, right? So that is your the parotids, submandibular and sublingual form your major salivary glands, and you have your minor salivary glands. Now, parotid, obviously, anatomically speaking, you have to say it comes superiorly from zygomatic arch, posteriorly angle of mandible, it basically goes behind it. It has a superficial lobe and a deep lobe. Medially what is there, laterally what is there, anteriorly what long it goes. So it's basically the explanation of that anatomy part of it. But one of the main thing about the parotid is that the parotid nerve, the facial nerve, which traverses the substance of this parotid gland, right? So it is dividing the gland into what we call as a superficial and a deeper part. And superficial forms the main part of the parotid gland. It is about 80% of it in the deep, which is around the mandible behind, where it is deeper to the facial nerve, that is 20% of it, right? So that is a parotid is, it's not exactly a well encapsulated like your submandibular, it's like a small ball, right? You mean obviously the shape is not a ball, it's different, but it's much more compact. But this parotid is spread over a space like that, right?